Hello, we're going to start our lesson today on rafters with looking at what type the different types of roofs there are. So the most famous type of roof is a gable roof, and that's kind of like your typical if you're going to draw a house, it's probably have a gable end roof house. All right, and that's where you just have two ends that form, all right, the pitch of your roof. All right, the gable end is the most common because it's the easiest to make, and there's pretty much just two triangles at the end, and those are your gable ends, and that's what pretty much makes your roof. Probably the simplest shed to make, and probably the first roof ever, was the lean-to or a shed roof, where it's just one roof. All right, there's not one on each side, and it just has one pitch to it. All right, all the way down. All right, and so the water and rain can just fall to the side one way. All right, it's kind of, you see a lot in modern styles now, but it's called a shed roof. All right, mainly because it was on sheds a lot. All right, nice, simple, basic roof. Shed roofs are also featured on additions a lot because it's just coming off the house, and you don't have enough room to make a gable roof with two sides. You just have one side of the gable, which is your shed. All right, if you want to get really fancy, you have something called a hip roof, which the roof slopes down on all angles. All right, unlike a gable end where you'd have a one end that doesn't slope down. All right, your gable ends, it's a hip roof slopes everywhere. And kind of the benefits of it is that you have a gutter that wraps all the way around the roof line, and it also prevents any kind of wind lifting up the roof, since there's no gable end that could like get underneath the roof itself, since everything is sloped down. Here's a few examples of hip roofs. Now hip roofs, like I said, are a little bit fancier because it takes more material, to frame and roof. All right, you see that all four sides, all right, it has a pitch to it. And then you have what you might call a barn roof, but it's called a gambrel roof, which you have two different pitches on the roof itself. So you have the first pitch coming up from here, and then you have this other pitch coming from there. All right, and the reason for the gambrel roof is so you could store hay up there, all right, and it'd be covered, all right, and you have more room. A gable roof would have cut off a lot more room here, whereas a gambrel roof, you can store a lot more up there in your roof and your attic, and that's kind of what the whole point of the gambrel roof is. But there's two slopes to it, slope at the top and then another slope going to the bottom. Most barns have this type of roof. Alright, and if you want to get really fancy, you'll have a hip roof with two different types of slopes, and that's a mansard. Alright, and estate houses like this one is like a chateau or something would have this. So so pretty much you have a hip roof all the way around, no open ends, but you have like two types of pitches on your hip roof. Like you have this top pitch, and you have this pitch going on below. So pretty fancy. All right, not very common though. Here's some more examples. Definitely like older houses like this will have the mansard roof. All right, so your roof pitch. All right, so the slope of your roof is called the pitch, and how we measure it is we measure the rise, how much the roof line is rising for every 12 inches or foot, all right, of run. So for this slope right here, for every 12 inches, the slope is going up 4. So you go over 12, the slope is going to go up 4 inches, and that's how we figure out what a pitch is. And there's all different kind. A pitch is obviously 112 would be pretty flat, and then it goes steeper from there. Here's like in real time. All right, I would say most houses are around the 7 to 8 pitch. 12 definitely getting a little steep and getting real steep. All right, and then it kind of just decreases from there. All right, this is like, these are probably about, you know, over 12 pitch roofs. You see how steep it is to work on. All right, what you can do to find the pitch on any roof is just grab a speed square and a level. And so you put the level on top of the speed square, and then you raise your speed square until the level bubble is level. And then you look down, all right, here, and you would see this would be a 5/12 pitch because the 5 is nearest this edge. And that's all you gotta do to find it. This right here is your common rafter pitch, and that's what you would use. All right, so you don't want to use these numbers when you're doing this. There's another way you could do it: a level and a tape measure. Get a 12-inch level, put it level, and then measure from the eave and how many inches up, and I'll let you know. All right, you can also get a framing square and a level, and do it like this. Put it up, square up like this, and measure and divide by 2. But that's a little more complicated. All right, so rafters themselves are the sloping members of the roof. So there they are right there. That's pretty much what holds up the roof. All right, some roofs have what you call a ridge board there, and that's what they attach to. So to determine what you need for the roof is that you need the span, how big the building is, what the pitch is, which is predetermined, and then you also need to know how far it's going to overhang the roof side of your house. And the overhang, what it does is protect the side of your house, all right, from weather. So there's an overhang right here, and it's going to protect this wall. All right, so you use a framing square, and we're going to step off the rafters. All right, so you kind of mark and set, so it'll be 6/12 pitch, so it'll be 6 inches over here, 12 inches over here, and then you draw your line here. So where the rafter sits on the wall plate is called the bird's mouth, and the seat cut, all right, part of the bird, there's 2 cuts with the bird's mouth. There's the seat cut right here, and then there's the heel cut in the back, which rests against the wall. And the seat cut you sit on, it sits on the wall. Now it's called a bird's mouth because it kind of looks like a bird's mouth, kind of looks like a beak when you cut it. All right, and you can see it here, the seat and the heel cut. All right, and your seat cut is determined by what kind of plate you use. So if it's a 2x6 plate, then you gotta use, your seat cut would be 5.5 because that's what 2x6 is. That's how wide it is. If it was a 2x4, it'd be 3.5 inches. All right, this is where the stepping off happens. All right, you can either start at the top or bottom. It really doesn't matter. All right, so you just gotta step it off. All right, and so if something was 4 feet, you would want to step off 4 times, because when you're setting it, like let's say it was a 6/12 pitch, so it'd be 6 inch over here, but then your 12 inch, as you see it here, every 12 inches. So 4 feet is 48 inches divided by 12. All right, so it'd be 4 times you would step it off. These stair gauges here kind of hold your place on the framing square, so you can step off a lot faster. So it will hold your place at 6, hold your place at 12, and you can just step off. All right, cutting your bird's mouth and attaching it, you need to shoot a couple nails right above it, and that goes into the plate. All right, after you step off the rafters, then you can kind of lay out your bird's mouth here, and then you'll be good to cut it out. That's more in the video there. And most rafters have a ridge board, beam, or board. If you use a 2x lumber, it'd be a ridge board. So just clearing that up. A ridge beam would be something much larger. All right, and that's kind of keeps all the rafters together. So you see the ridge, they call this a ridge beam because it does look like a beam that's multiple 2-bys together, or it could be like an LVL looking thing, and all these rafters are resting on it. And then usually underneath of it is either a post or a wall that kind of goes all the way up. And that's how you attach your 2x4 ridge. And then sometimes you can either screw it in like that, or you can also have rafter ties as well. This is what you don't want to have. This is a bad connection. This is shot loose. It just didn't hold very strongly, and it's not even resting on the ridge, so not very structurally sound. They don't rafters do not have to have a ridge board, but you can just kind of use what you call as a gusset, and that's just a piece of plywood you can see here, or OSB nailed to the top, and that'll keep your rafters together. All right, so stay tuned for the video on how to lay out your rafter and step it off.